In this episode, we will show how the religion of Islam has staged a stunning comeback in the European nation of Spain.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
But before going into it in depth, it is important to remember, as we have showed in some of our videos, that since October 2023, we have seen more people in several countries around the world, particularly in the United States, converting to Islam after being inspired by the courage and tenacity of the Palestinian people. Among them, converts who previously practiced no religion, but also thousands of Jews and Christians renouncing their religion to embrace the Islamic faith. But now, let's talk about a particular case: Spain. A recent survey has found that the Muslim population in Spain has nearly tripled during the past decade, rising from 1 million in 2010 to 2.3 million in 2023. Now the Muslim population accounts for 5.3% of the total population of Spain, a number that is surging upwards exponentially. And while immigration is partly responsible for this dramatic growth, what really stands out here is the growing number of converts among Spanish nationals, with report finding that converts from Christianity to Islam have increased by a factor of 10 during the past 3 decades. So what does all of this mean? It means Islam is returning home to Spain.
Muy bien. جاء نصر الله والفتح.
Remembering that this country lived and prospered under Islamic rule for 800 years. That is until the Spanish city of Grenada fell to the Christian armies in the year 1492. But it's here in Grenada that Islam is again flourishing and thriving. It's not only home to 36,000 Muslims, including 4,000 converts, but also home to some of the world's most beautiful streets, parks, buildings and monuments, because it's here where the influence of Islamic art on European architecture is most profound. Under Islamic rule, Spain was known as the center of learning, art, architecture, multiculturalism and religious tolerance, with non-Muslims, including Christians and Jews, treated as equal citizens with equal religious rights.
Que hoy el arabista Jacques Beck, que era una de las...
According to the Islamic scholar Jacques Burke, one of the most harmonious communities in Europe was Al-Andalus. There was respect in that you could practice your own religion. It was a Muslim society that accepted the Christian and the Jewish communities.
Que era musulmana, pero que aceptaba al cristiano, al judío.
This peaceful coexistence came to a thunderous halt in 1492, however, when the Christian kingdoms of Europe invaded Spain, before forcibly deporting and exiling the country's 4 million Muslim citizens to North Africa and the Middle East. From this moment, Spain instantly transformed itself into a tyrannical Christian state and began exporting its religion throughout its colonies in Asia, Africa, and South America, where non-Christian peoples were forcibly converted to Catholicism or killed, an act of violence and coercion considered an anathema in Islam. But European school kids are not taught this history. Instead, they are taught that Islam was spread by the sword, when in fact the opposite is true. It was Christianity that was spread down the barrel of a gun, proving once again that every false accusation against Islam is a confession of wrongdoing. Thankfully, the Spanish people are proud of their Islamic heritage, which helps explain why many Spanish Catholics are now massively converting to Islam. Here's a convert explaining why Islam has grown in popularity throughout Spain in recent years.
When people started to know about us, they started coming around, becoming a Muslim, and basically the community was settled by people who came from all over Spain to stay and live with us here, because we understood that Islam was not something that you can take and then go back home and go on living the same way that you were living. Then it grew, and it grew not only in our families, because we are already on the 4th generation, but also our commitment since the very beginning was to show Islam to the society. So it means we have a lot of shahadas.
However, the growing number of Muslims in Spain has led Spanish leaders to increase injustices against the Muslim community in the country. Now the government has moved to grant citizenship to descendants of Sephardic Jews who were expelled from the country in 1492, a right the same government denied to the descendants of expelled Muslims, even though both sets of people were forcibly removed from the country at the same time and by the same forces. A Spanish journalist wrote this: "The decision to grant Spanish citizenship to the grandchildren of Spanish Jews in the 15th and 16th centuries while ignoring the grandchildren of Muslims is without doubt flagrant segregation and unquestionable discrimination. But the reason to this double standard is obvious. If Spain grant the same rights to Muslims as it does to Jews, the Spain will instantly become home to the largest Muslim population in the European Union. A move that constitutes the worst nightmare of Vox, the Spanish far-right party led by Santiago Abascal. But one thing is undoubtedly sure: Islam has left an imposing legacy to Spain, and today the religion of Allah is rapidly growing in this country, as it is the case in many Western countries and all over the world. Thank you very much for your time. Assalamu alaikum.